Skills that are locked to one specific unit and aren't exclusive. We got a lot of those, and they keep adding more of them. So I wanted to talk about all the skills that are still exclusively locked to specific units. But I have two things I want to preface first. One, they need to be at least a year old minimum. I'm not going to start talking about stuff like Finish 4 because it literally just came out. And two, if the prerequisite exists on a unit, it doesn't count for exclusivity. So I'm not going to count something like Attack Speed Bond 4 on one unit when you can get Attack Speed Bond 3 on another unit. If it's stuff like Unity where the effects are just drastically different, then sure. But I do want to give a special shout out to Brazen Attack Speed 4 for being the only Brazen with a Tier 4 version that we got this many years ago, and we still haven't seen anything since. So yeah, that's cool, even though it's basically just a better Brazen attack speed. It's still locked to this one unit. Cool. V8 passive. We got a couple Aether Raid's defense skills nobody really uses, because mainly the only good one is attack and speed, although you have some decent ones like attack and defense, even though it's still only locked to Halloween Dazzler, so cool stuff there. And I don't know if they're ever going to release them in another form, probably not. You also have all the Aether Raid's offense skills that nobody ever used because they're all garbage. But that's okay, nobody really wants them on other units anyway, so you can keep them, IS. Blue Dual Cavalry. Yeah, arena scoring for people that still care about that. But if you don't like the blue variant, we can make it colorless. And if you don't like Cavs, we can make it flying. Or if you like red or green. I think all the Cav ones are locked to one unit, which makes sense because initially they didn't get any, so I guess that's fair. Blade Session and Shield Session. You wanted a new TMS banner? Well, not happening. Close counter skills, close reversal, it's only on Gatekeeper. It's pretty good, but then you have close ward, and that's only on New Year Plumeria, and that sucks. It's awful. We've had bad skills, but this takes the cake for being ultra fucking bad. The breath skills, you know, the ones that everybody uses in the Sacred Seal slot now, or Brave Lucina, or Thor, or New Year Valoria, or yeah, nobody really uses them in their A slot anymore. They used to use them back in 2018 with all the dragon stuff, but that was really only when we had steady breath. Defense res catch. Honestly, I kind of want to see more of them because in some aspects I do think they're pretty decent. You also have Iot Shield and Savalan Shield. Savalan Shield being locked to Sheena, which is readily available, and then Iot Shield being locked to Michaelis, who is only through the Grand Hero Battle. But chances are you're really just going to be using it as a Sacred Seal option anyway, because using it for your A slot's not really a good idea. And then outside of that, we have Sorcery Blade. And I'm hoping we get a Tier 4 version that extends the requirement from adjacency to maybe like 2 spaces. I think that'd be pretty good, actually. If you were to get something like that, you know what? I'd take it. But right now, nobody uses it for probably good reason, so cool. The B passives. Some of these actually surprised me, although there's a lot of variants that basically boil down to this skill, but attack and speed, or attack and res. That's mainly going to be the seals. They didn't really release these on many other units. You have every variant here except for maybe seal attack defense, because I'm pretty sure that's on multiple other units. I don't think double seals were in that high of a demand, at least currently. Let's wait for the Tier 4 version. Chill Speed Res. That one's also locked to one unit, and it's incredibly niche. If you're going to use something with speed in there, you may as well just keep the single variant, or you may as well use something like Speed Defense, because I don't think anybody can necessarily soak Speed Defense that well, comparatively to Attack Speed or Defense and Res. You have a bunch of breakers too. You have Green Tome, Red Tome, and Dagger Breaker. Blue Tome also used to follow suit until we got Python that one year, and he just randomly came with it one day, and I'm not sure why. But that's okay. If you want Blue Tomb Breaker, you got Python. If you want all the other ones, well, you got the demote mages that are pretty bad. And you have Kagero, and she has it, but I don't think you're really looking to fodder her for Dagger Breaker or for anything at all. Snags! You got Speed Res Snag and Defense Res Snag. This was basically their call for ruses on other movement types, and they're bad. You're really better off just using any sort of Sabotage bot. We have Tamari for a reason. You can just give him a Sabotage B slot, and bam, you're good to go. Defense and Res Feint. Yeah, you remember these? These were also pre-ruse, and for what it's worth, it's okay, but for your B slot? I don't think so. I don't really think so. Defense and Riz Cantrip. You remember the dancer skills they released one year that was basically just feint, but for dancers, and they never really did anything with those after? And those also kind of suck because Wings of Mercy is basically every dancer's best B slot, minus a few exceptions. Yeah, these exist, and I don't think you're really going to kill off any unit for these, especially since, yeah, Duo Peony. Can't forget about Speed Cantrip though, that one exists too. You have Water Sweep, which is actually a really good beast slot nowadays. And it's on Soren of all units, only on Soren. And he's readily available. And to be honest, this is one of the few skills that actually aged really, really well. And I'm not sure why this is like the only accessible variant. Like, Windsweep is so stupidly expensive. Daring Fighter. I like Daring Fighter when I put it on Edelgard once and it sucked, but it was fun. It was fun. You have a couple of the dance skills as well, like Rock Slide Dance and Deluge Dance. Deluge Dance, I'm pretty sure, is readily available on Sylvia, and Rock Slide is on one of the Dancer seasonals. The one thing I never got is why they're inheritable to every single unit in the game, when only a select few can use Sing and Dance. That's okay though, because some chads tend to put these skills on their units when you're scoring super high in like Arena or Arena Assault, just to make your life easier, so I can appreciate that. And Wyvern Flight, which used to be pretty good. I still think it's actually okay, but I think nowadays you may as well just grab something like Flow and then have an additional effect like Guard or stat debuffs or whatever. Wyvern Flight is just applicable in both phases if I remember correctly, and it does grant a fair amount of stats, so for what it's worth, it's an okay skill, but yeah, flows exist. The C passive, I'll just preface this right now, most of these are just going to be XP skills and Valor skills because yeah, they decided to make these stupidly hard to get. Well, mainly the Valor skills. Most of the XP ones are on 4 stars, so you don't really have to worry about that. But I don't think anybody was really demanding that we get readily available XP skills because there's so many easier ways to level up units without taking up your C slot. But that's okay, I guess. Attack Risk Near Save. This is only on Halloween Male Grima. And why is that? Probably because it's very niche. You're better off really taking something like Attack Defense, or at the very least Defense and Res, so you can cover both fronts. Most foes at one range are targeting defense anyway, so that's probably the reason why we haven't seen this again. But at the end of the day, it's still a near save, so I don't really see too much of an issue. Defense Res Oath. This is only on Alphonse, and I fully expect us to get a tier 4 version sooner or later because the teleportation gimmick with the additional defense and res is pretty decent for what it's worth. Although when we're gonna get it, who can really say? Fortified Beasts and Cavalry. Yeah, these are still only on one unit. The Beast one I can understand because they basically gave these out almost immediately when Beasts first came into the game. But Cavalry, I'm pretty sure that's still locked to one unit. Although at the very least it is a 3 and 4 star skill, so it's not too bad. You also have a Gold Beast, and I figured I'd throw that one in there too because, again, similar to Fortified Beasts, they basically made any readily available beast skill in the game, and they haven't really added any since, although we've had some instances where we got Hone Beasts on multiple units, but for the most part it's pretty much just on a specific few launch beast units. Joint Drive Defense, also only on Gatekeeper. Maybe in the future we'll get another one, but I don't think we really need it as much as maybe other joint drives, although now we have Oaths and those are just way better, so you know what, just give me more Oaths. I like those more. Joint Hone Res, only on Masquerade Sigurd. And this one's okay. You could give it to a Legendary Azura, and then you could get like +7... No, wait, that's the wrong one, isn't it? +5 to unit and adjacent allies. Okay, so it sucks. Cool. Infantry Breath, only on Na. It also sucks because it's a check, and you could just run any sort of support, like Duo Thor or regular Thor. There are more units, I just like Thor more. Red Feud, still pretty underutilized as a skill overall, mainly because we don't have a lot of supportive reds, but also there aren't as many red carries as there are of pretty much every other color, so I can see why this is only locked to Flavia currently. Ward Armor, only on Drog. We have the other wards on pretty much every other unit, but Drog's the only one with Ward Armor. That being said, now that saves are pretty much just commonplace, I don't think anyone's really missing out on Ward Armor. Although if you ran a full armor team and you could have 2 armors with C-slot Ward Armor, that's pretty much just 8 defense in res. It's not bad at all. And Stall Ploy, the one skill that never caught traction, then they put it as a sabotage for Reeve, and then he became super anti-meta. Don't you love this game? And that's pretty much every single inheritable skill locked to one unit. Again, I'm not going to bring up all the newer ones, at least not right now, because they're still pretty recent, you know, Finish. Hopefully we'll get more of them in the future, and I assume we will. But for those still struggling to get some of these skills, I know how you feel. I think people should start sending feedback to the team and say, you know, I wish we had more readily available sword XP in the pool.